When I prepare for a sermon, I not only study the original language that it was written in, whether it's in Greek or Hebrew, but I also read commentaries from other scholars and experts from various opinions and perspectives. I try to do my best to do what the Bible says, to study to show yourself approved before you preach. However, oftentimes my most favorite study resources and things that I do to try to get a hold of what God is saying, most helpful things to study for my sermon is my kids. So I was driving them to school one day this week, and so I said, hey, girls, I want to read this passage from the Bible to you and get your take on it. You know, what do you think about this? And so I just simply said, there's this Jesus is on the throne, and he says, behold, I am making all things new. What do you think about that? You know, you had something that was new, and then something happened, and then it wasn't new anymore. What do you think about Jesus saying, I'll make all things new? My middle daughter, she piped up and she told me about this stuffed animal duck that she used to have named Quacky. I don't remember Quacky, but apparently she said when she got Quacky, she loved it, but then she took him outside and she was playing, they got all dirty, and then she said the thing doesn't work anymore where you squeeze his stomach and he quacks. And so she said, Daddy, when we go to heaven, can I have a new Quacky? And I told her, I said, for sure, God said all things. I don't know, what else are you supposed to say? I don't know. But that kind of stuck with me because, isn't it so true that so often we want something and then we finally get it? I mean, we're so stoked on it. It's brand new and this is sweet. Fresh, clean, super nice, and you're all about it. We just had Christmas. Think about it. You get some good Christmas gifts this year you were stoked on? Or maybe think about it this way. You remember what you got for Christmas last year? I was trying to think about it. I couldn't remember. I had to ask my wife. It's like, what did you get me for Christmas last year? I know it was something big. Like, what was it? Last year she got me this watch, a nice Nixon watch. My God, I was stoked. I wore it every day. But you know what? After the year, it kind of got scuffed up on it. I'm like, now I just one of 4 watches I rotate, depending on my outfit, Isn't it like that every time we get something new? New car, it's great, but then after a while, it's you get a new house, you're so stoked on it, and then, I don't know, the walls get dirty and it gets old, need a new couch. I don't know. Think about, this is a perfect one. New iPhone or Pixel, I know now, is super cool. So great! Lasts for a few months, then the new version comes out. Gosh, doesn't everything new eventually loses its luster, right? That's a fact of life. Everything new eventually loses its luster. And so then what happens is we keep on chasing more new things and better things. But God is promising in our passage is the ultimate new, the real new, the new that never wears out and never gets old. And here's something really important for us to understand about it. God's promise is not to make all new things, but to make all things new. Notice that? It promises isn't him making all new things, but making all things new. This is really what it is. It's a transformation of everything. Transforming everything. The newness of God that he's talking about here, it's a renewal of things. It's a restoration of things to their original new quality where it doesn't run out, doesn't get old, doesn't get broken, and never loses its luster. The true new. Now, this newness, it may and likely does include physical things, because if you read on in Revelation 21, there's talk about physical streets and gates and city and decor and all kinds of stuff. So maybe there actually is hope for Quacky. It includes physical things. But what really matters, I believe, is the relational newness that transforms how we experience the newness of God and what it institutes. This quality of life that the passage focuses on, this quality of life with God that he promises. Look at it with me. Verse 6, the verse right after verse 5, that was our main verse for today, promise of God making all things new. God, he says how we experience this newness. It's to the thirsty I will give from the spring of the water of life without payment. That's his promise. God himself gives the water of life to all who thirst. This is the promise. Verse 3 we read earlier said that God, he'll dwell with man and God with his people, where he continually provides this water of life, this newness of life. So, how God makes all things new is by bringing us into this special, intimate relationship, and where he satisfies the thirst and the longing of our souls. Satisfy that. No longer is there any separation between us and him, with us running or hiding or getting distracted by this and that, or thinking that there's something better than him. God is once again in the garden, walking with his creatures like he did with Adam and Eve, although now it's a garden city full of lots of people, and there's a fountain where we drink from the waters of life from him. And here's the kicker. We do nothing to earn it. It's without payment, verse 6 says. It's a free gift without payment. And here's the really funny thing about this section. Verse 8 has all that gnarly stuff about what happens to people with that reject God and immorality and sin and get into all kinds of stuff that end up getting thrown into hell. But verse 7 says that those who conquer, they get the heritage of God and this special privilege of being his sons and his daughters, with him as their loving father. So how do you conquer then? Like, how do you not end up in that lake of fire? How do you conquer? Well, not by earning it. It's without payment. Can't offer a payment. So doing good won't cut it. So not being a liar, not being an idolater, not being a sorcerer, not being a sex addict, not being a murderer, none of those things can get you into God's kingdom. I mean, even if you don't do any of those things, you won't conquer that way. You can't conquer by like earning it and then offering your goodness to God as a payment to heaven, where you then get to drink from the waters of life from God. No, verse 6 says, look at verse 6. The way that you conquer, we go back, it's by thirsting to the thirsty. The way that you conquer is by being thirsty and drinking. It's to the thirsty that God gives the waters of life without payment. By thirsting and drinking from God that we conquer all of those things. This is the promise of God, that he will satisfy all who thirst. David said it well in the Bible in Psalm 63:1, says it this way, "O God, you are my God. Earnestly I seek you, for my soul. It thirsts for you. My flesh faints for you as a dry and weary land where there is no water." The soul thirsts. And nothing in this world can satisfy our thirst. Nothing that the world has to offer. But those who turn to God and they drink from the depths of his love and his kindness and his forgiveness and his grace and the new life that he offers to us through Jesus, he satisfies. He dwells with us. He gives the water of life. We're to thirst and then to drink in the living water of the life of God. So, friends, the call for us in 2018 is really to do as the guy from the Dos Equis commercial says, to stay thirsty, my friends. Huh? Stay thirsty, my friends. There is a newness of life that comes from knowing God and walking with him. We can experience that here and now in part through Jesus. And one day, when we get to Revelation 21, we'll experience it in full. So we have to look forward to. I believe with all my heart that God is going to do some incredible and beautiful and wonderful new things in your life and mine and our church in 2018. I'm really excited about that. There's some new things ahead. He is making all things new. Our job is simply to drink it in and enjoy it. Enjoy life with God. So one final verse for us today I think sums it up well from Romans 6:4. It says, Christ is raised from the dead by the glory of God the Father, so we too might walk in newness of life. Newness of life. There's new things ahead for all of us who drink from the waters of life without payment from Jesus. So let's walk with him this year and see our joy ever increase.